The library always seemed cooler than the rest of the building. Probably to keep the books from getting damaged by excessive heat and humidity. Books are sturdy objects, but if you want to keep them in good condition, it takes a little effort. I've got several books that are so well worn the pages are barely clinging to the spine. It seems impossible for them to still be usable, but if you handle them with care. I make my way to the main desk where I spot Yuko busying herself with something or another. She smiles at me as I enter there and waves.
Hello, Hisao. Good to see you again. What are you looking for this time?
Nothing in particular, I guess. I just didn't really feel like going back to my room, so. Yuko nods.
Well, if you're unoccupied, maybe you could help me look for something.
Sure, what do you need? Yuko brings a finger to her lips and looks around furtively. She seems to be looking for eavesdroppers.
Come closer.
I take a few hesitant steps forward while feeling distinctly unnerved. Yuko lowers her voice to a confidential whisper.
I'm on the trail of the Yamaku cat burglar.
The what?
Shh! The walls have ears, Hisao! Or they might. But listen, those missing books, remember them?
Yeah.
Well, they weren't missing, they were stolen. I'm convinced of it.
I remember you saying something of the sort earlier, but, do you know? Yuko leans in closer and if possible whispers even lower.
Because I found one of his hiding places.
You did what? Yuko looks triumphant.
Found one of his stashed. It was under one of the stairwells in the boys' dorm. 3 books I had been looking for, all there. I'd suspected a thief before, but this proves it.
So, did you take back the books? Yuko looks as if I've just suggested she walk around naked.
Are you nuts? He can't know I'm onto him. He might go to the ground in a vague capture.
So what do you need my help with then? Yuko casts another glance around the library and leans in closer.
You've got to spy for me.
Spy?
Yeah, like when you're in the dorms, you know. Keep an eye out for suspicious activity.
What constitutes suspicious anyway? I mean, Kenji, who is clearly the person in question, is a pretty suspicious guy, but I'll wager he barely goes to class, much less sneaks into the library to look for books. Oh, come on, man. You should know Kenji enough to know that he is a very cautious person when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, the book that she mentioned on wherever it was that she had interest on and that it was missing, and Kenji happened to, like, hand Hisao a bunch of books and that happened to be one of them. It's clearly obvious it's Kenji, man. And you know the fact that she's like asking Hisao to spy on him, that would just like further his whole paranoia. It's like, so I was right. I told you, man, it's a conspiracy. Still, what's the harm in saying yes? At the least it'll get me out of this weird conversation. Yeah, I can do that, no problem. Maybe that's what he meant with the Shanghai, because she works there. Maybe he's been suspicious of her ever since. Just like, that woman, she's a spy! Conspiracy! I don't know. Yuko straightens up and claps excitedly.
Great! Now hurry up and talk about something else in case someone comes in. How's the school treating you?
Pretty well, actually. I've been running in the mornings with
Emi Ibarazaki, right?
Yeah. How do you know?
I served you two in the tea house, remember? I deducted that if you were going to run with anyone, it would probably be her.
She looks pleased with herself. Impressive. Anyway, yes, we've been running in the mornings. And, we kind of started dating. Yuko claps her hands together excitedly.
Really, that's great. I'll bet you two are great together. I love seeing people find one another like that, you know? I even thought of myself when you walked into Shanghai that one time. I wonder if that kid will wind up with one of those girls.
Really? Yuko doesn't seem to notice my somewhat weirded out tone and nods affirmatively.
Yep, I could tell that you'd wind up with one of them, you know? Because they just had that kind of, like, you know, look to them, like, you know, main characters. I've got an eye for that sort of thing. Of course.
Her expression drooped slightly.
I'm not so good at it myself.
I'm sure that's not true.
Oh, it's true. I met this guy once. We got along really great, but it turned out he was younger than me. And that was kind of weird, but not terribly so. What was really weird was that he disappeared one day, and I've not seen him since then.
Yeah, I'm starting to, like, piece together something, you know, not concrete, because I'm not sure myself. But I wonder if it's Kenji. It probably, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I wonder if it, like, if it is Kenji, I wonder if they'll show how that went down, because that would certainly be interesting. What would also be interesting would be if, like, Kenji wasn't, like, overly paranoid until a certain point. Instead of, you know, just seeming to have always been that way for years or something. Kinda curious to wonder, see how that would turn out. I wonder if it's explained in his routes, which is apparently a bad hint. But still, get some backstory. That does seem kinda odd.
Doesn't it? I hope it wasn't something I did.
I feel compelled to reassure her. I'm sure it wasn't. I intend to try and calm her down further, but the both of us jump in surprise at the ringing suddenly coming from my pocket. What the hell, man? Do you have a... That's the kind of ringing you get from, like, you know, a house phone or something. What? Just... whatever. Yuko sighs to steady herself as I pull the phone from my pocket. I feel a little sheepish for indirectly causing the incident. Just like, yeah, I've got one of those freaking wall phones, or like one of those phones you can just put down. You know, house phones. I put it in my pocket and take it with... I don't even know how it would even work that way. Well, it's obviously not that. But still, that ringtone really sounds like that. Emmy, what's up?
Oh, thank God I haven't called your phone before, so I didn't know if the number would work or well you would pick up, and I can't...
Whoa there, Emmy, slow down. What's wrong? There's a pause on the other side of the line, during which I can hear Emmy trying to control her breathing in order to calm down. Well, you could have told me I was supposed to actually voice it in such a way. Something's got her terribly agitated, and it's starting to agitate me.
Can you stop by? Like now, or shortly after now. I really need to talk to you.
There's a tone of pleading in the last sentence that I don't think I've ever heard from her. Of course, I'll be right there. Hold steady, okay? In my increasingly agitated state, I've apparently started saying things that don't quite make sense.
Okay, I'll be okay.
See you soon. I pressed the button to end the call before slipping the phone back into my pocket, apologized to Yuko for running off, and run off. Perhaps at some point I would have stopped to think about the time or how suspicious it looks for a guy to enter the girl's dorm at this hour. Except right now I'm just concerned with getting to Emmy and finding out what's wrong and how I can help her. I knock on the door and I'm greeted with a subdued come in. Something is very wrong as I stare at the scene before me. Emmy's there, yes, but she's in a wheelchair. And her legs are missing. I glance around the room and see them sitting in a corner looking like they have been thrown there. Emmy responds to my entrance with a lopsided grin that is both pleased to see me and completely, utterly heartbroken.
Hi, Hisao.
It looks like she's been crying, but if she was, she's stopped now. I noticed I'm a little out of breath, having taken the stairs 2 at a time in order to get here. My heart doesn't seem to mind the strain, though. I file this happy fact away for later consideration. Like when I'm not staring somewhat dumbstruck at my girlfriend in the wheelchair. Realizing I've still not responded to her greeting, my brain lurches into gear. Emmy, what happened?
Guess I should have listened to you, Hisao. My leg's got a nasty infection, and I'm not allowed to run on it for at least a couple of weeks.
She gives a bitter laugh that couldn't be coming from her. Shouldn't be.
I can't even walk on it. I could have used a crutch and kept one of my legs, but I didn't see the point. Why hop? You can't run on one leg. At least this way I can still, I don't know, roll fast or something.
Yeah, that's good, right? My awkward attempt to look on the bright side seems appreciated, but not really effective. Emmy shrugs again.
It's just kind of a nuisance. I mean, we can't even eat up on the roof now, no wheelchair access.
Yeah, but that's not a big deal, right? I mean, we can still eat together, and that's the important thing. That lopsided grin again, it hurts to look at.
I suppose so, well, yeah. But like I said, it's a nuisance. I mean, I haven't really used a wheelchair in...
She thinks for a minute.
maybe 7 years? Something like that, anyway. Long time. I'm afraid I'm a bit out of practice.
Well, fortunately it's only temporary, right? Emmy nods.
Oh yeah, of course. It's not like I've lost them permanently. But it's a pain in the ass all the same.
I nod sympathetically. There's not much else they can do after all. What am I gonna do? Say, I told you so? Although I did tell her to get that leg looked at. But by the time I noticed, it was too late anyway. See? Oh man, that's a dick move, isn't it? Now I'm like, I told you so, Hisao! You couldn't hear me because you're a fictional character, but I told you! You should have got it checked out sooner! It's like, with stuff like that, the longer you put it off for, the worse it'd end up getting, wouldn't it? Do you need help with anything? That is, can I help with anything? Emmy shakes her head and has a bit of her usual grin back.
Nah, I can manage fine by myself. Although if you want to help me over to my bed, it would save me the trouble of rolling over there myself.
I blush in spite of myself. Emmy giggles.
You're such a prude, Hisao.
I'm not a prude. I just wouldn't want to take advantage of a young woman such as yourself. It's ungentlemanly. I wheel Emmy's chair to her bed and easily scoop her up and deposit her there. She quickly sorts herself out and sits on the side. She's actually a little heavier than she looks. It would be rude of me to observe this aloud, of course. Man, you're kind of heavy. And he does it anyway. Smack! Emmy hits me with a pillow.
Ass! And there she goes again.
Just saying it's all. Must be all that running. At the mention of running, Emmy's grin falters slightly.
Well, I guess I won't have to worry about that for a bit, huh? Maybe I'll lose some weight.
That's what you do to lose weight, right? Cause physical activity.
I'm pretty sure that's what the nurse would recommend.
Speaking of which, are you gonna still be showing up in the mornings? I'd hate to run
shit.
Emmy's sudden interjection, more a disquieted muttering than anything too profane, causes me to look over in shock. She's leaning forward, trying to cover the fact that she's crying by covering her eyes with her hands. Of course, the subdued sobbing makes it pretty obvious that she's crying. Hey, I'm sorry. Forget I said anything, okay? I place a hand gingerly around her and pull her close. I can think of nothing else to say or do. How do you comfort someone who's just lost their legs again? Emmy wraps me in a hug and stays that way for a while. Sorry, I'm pretty bad at this whole comforting thing, I guess.
Don't say that. I'm fine, really.
Her voice is slightly muffled by my chest. I pat her head reassuringly. That's the spirit, right? You'll get through this fine, I know it. Besides, I'm here to help you, remember? Emmy lifts her head and stares at me with tear-stained eyes.
Can you really?
She's grinning lopsidedly and something sparkles in her gaze. I can't tell if I'm being mocked or not. Of course, I mean... you're a bit heavy, but... My witty comment is cut off by the sudden press of Emmy's lips on mine. Must have said that line fast, then. I'm caught off guard and rewarded by hitting my head on the wall behind her bed. Ow! Emmy pulls back, trying to look concerned rather than like she's about to laugh.
You okay? Sorry.
I rub my head ruefully and grin back at her. Caught me off guard there. Is that going to become a habit? Am I going to be lectured by Shizune and Bisha more? Not to mention of the duo, Emmy giggles.
Honestly, those two. If I didn't know why, I'd be utterly confused as to why she hangs around with someone so bossy.
Which one are we talking about?
You know exactly which one, Hisao. Misha's hardly bossy.
So, what's the reason then?
Huh?
The reason why Misha hangs around Shizune. Emmy waves my question off with a smile.
No idea. You'll have to find out in Shizune's route, but this is my route, so screw the other characters.
I see.
Anyway, you seem to be forgetting the original question, don't you?
Oh yeah, yes I am. You wouldn't mind giving the guy a little warning, would you? Otherwise I'm liable to wind up with a concussion. Emphasize the point by rubbing at the back of my head. Emmy giggles madly.
You could wear a helmet. Some kids here do, you know.
Or I could just take revenge. I grab a pillow from beside me and whack Emmy over the head. K.O. Emmy topples off the bed and lands on the floor with a thump. Her arms promptly reappear on the bed and she manages to pull herself back up. She really has a surprising amount of strength in that little body. Her face is turned downwards and away from mine, making me think I might have accidentally hurt her. Emmy, you okay? You didn't hit your... Her hand shoots up and grabs my collar. She pulls me in with a sharp tug, her face now barely an inch away from mine as she grins cheekily. Emmy? She gives me a sharp headbutt. Our foreheads making quite a loud thud. I sit back and rub my now sore head as Emmy smirks victoriously.
How's that for revenge?
No fair! You can't take revenge for revenge! With someone missing most of her legs, Emmy's surprisingly agile. I swipe at her, but she deftly rolls out of the way and lands a hit with her pillow. Of course, the odds are against her. I can stand up for starters. Oof! That face. Guess I can't after all. Emmy seems to have effectively tripped me up and is now sitting primely astride me as I lay on my back. I'm not even sure how she managed it. That is the look of victory. It's like, I win. Mischievous face. Where's my phone? I forgot about that. If you can hear that, it's just like, still got that IU freaking alarm thing on my phone, as I've mentioned before. I don't know how long I've had that. But yeah, I have it set for 9 in the morning, which I guess it is now. How long have I been recording? 44 minutes. We made... Ow. Yeah, we're definitely going to be getting 2 parts out of this recording, which is good.
I win.
Her eyes twinkle mischievously. I've been thoroughly defeated, and by a girl that's a fraction of my size at that. Then again, being defeated doesn't seem quite so bad. Emmy being positioned over my waist isn't something that I or my body can ignore easily. I open my lips to speak, but Emmy's head darts downwards before I can get so much as a word out. I give no resistance as she presses her mouth to mine. Not that I want to. This is different somehow. She pulls back, snips at my lower lip, and she embraced. Her tongue darts inside my mouth, exploring. I can feel warmth spreading through my body as my heart begins to beat faster. You know, compared to other visual novels where, like, the character relationship is, like, kind of like, say, like, when a couple in, like, a visual novel hugs, it's very rare and made a big deal out of. And a kiss even more so. But these two are just like all over each other with that. It's like in Clannad, like with Tomoyo and Tomoya, their relationship had a similar kind of feel to it, only this is like taken up to 11. My mind starts to go foggy and I become vaguely aware of my hand traveling up Emmy's nose. Emmy gasps as I reach her breast and then giggles and then I stare up at a grinning Emmy. Wait, could it be going into one of those scenes soon? Memory recalls there is a possibility, but I'm not entirely sure. Because they don't do it in the usual transition like in other visual novels like in Dark Upper 2 and in Shuffle, for example, you could tell when it was going into one of those scenes from the music alone. Because they have like a music track that's specifically only used in those scenes.
Told you that makes my second win now.
What? That doesn't count. You use feminine wills. Well, blah, blah.
Both friend, love, and war, right? And you're even blushing. I didn't know you were a blusher, Sal.
You are blushing too, you know, probably because of your prudish ways. Even though I've got to admit this is a stupid thing to say to a woman who is currently straddling me and has been up until a few seconds ago playing tonsil hockey with me. Interesting wording.
A prude, am I? Well then, let's see who blushes first, shall we?
Because it's starting to sound like it's going to lead into one of those scenes. I'm not sure whether the tone of her voice terrifies or arouses me, but that question is quickly made rather moot. Okay. It did go into one of those scenes, but this one's a bit different, so I'll have to blank the screen here. I'm gonna, like, because I was skipping through that text history here, let's see what happened just there. Okay, let's go up here. So, like, she eventually reluctantly shifts off of me and sits against the wall. I join her. So, did you blush? No, sorry, did I blush? I didn't notice, said Hisao. Did I? asked Hisao. Emmy shrugs, still breathing a little heavily. Emmy replies, didn't notice either. Well, maybe we should. Door slams open. I need to use your window. Rin enters the scene! But I'm still gonna have to have blank screen, because, Emmy's currently, yeah. My first instinct is to hide, but then I realize that I'm still utterly exhausted and sitting next to a topless Emmy. Yes, that's why. So there's no running anyway. Maybe, well, I don't have to have the screen blank. I could just, like, have it focus on Rin's reaction, I suppose. Rin's eyes pass over Emmy and me and focus on the window. There was a cloud. Cloud? Rin nods. I was watching it from my window, but it didn't stay in my window. So I need to use your window. Emmy shifts a little, causing me to cough in order to cover up a giggle of my own. How long do you need the window for? We're, busy. This time I can't contain my laughter. What the hell? Rin ignores both Emmy and me and peers at the window. Her shoulders slump and she looks disappointed. It changed into something else. Disappointing. Emmy is having trouble keeping a straight face. Sorry to hear that, Rin. Could we have a little privacy now, please? What the hell? Rin shrugs as if to say, can you, and hooks her foot around the door, pulling it closed behind her. They both dissolve into raucous laughter, unable to deal with Rin's bizarrely timed visit any other way. After our laughter dies down, I look to Emmy. We're both a total mess. Well, Emmy raising an eyebrow. Well, again? What? Emmy grins and laughs and then she nods. We should probably ditch the clothes this time. Okay, good. I thought it was going to be like, and now we return to our that scene presentation. But no, it off screens. I don't even know what they actually did because I was like just going fast through it. But yeah, Emmy just took off her shirt and all that jazz. But that was about it. I can't even remember if they actually did anything because I wasn't actually paying attention. I was just like skipping through the scene and then suddenly, bam, Rin just comes in. It's like, whoa, back up a moment. The sunlight breaks through my window shortly before my alarm ruins the morning silence. I feel sore. The events of the previous evening suddenly intrude upon my consciousness and I find myself blushing. Actually, it probably wouldn't save that, would it? Or would it? Oh wait, it does. I wonder what kind of awkward dialogue is in there somewhere. I can't be asked going through that. Better not be a case like where there's like, you know, plot relevant stuff in that scene, you know. Because that is the case with some of them, but I'm not entirely sure actually. But they do tend to have a bit of plot leading up to it and after it. But it just tends to be an awkward bit where it's in between it in a way. The events of the previous evening suddenly intrude upon my consciousness. I found myself blushing. That was an eventful evening, and it explains perfectly the soreness of my lower back. The walk back, as I recall, had been rather tense. My trousers haven't been... So I suppose they must have done a bit there. I had washed them off in the bathroom before going back to my room, but there was still a fairly obvious looking stain on the front. Fortunately for me, the only person I ran into on my way back was Genji, and he didn't notice a thing. Well, apart from my being in the general vicinity. Of course, he'd asked how the night went, and whether or not I'd learned anything of importance. I don't even know if I opened my mouth to answer. I was too tired to care. And this morning I'll admit that I'm feeling pretty worn out. Still, Emmy had promised to meet me at the track, and I'd hate to disappoint. Wait. I remember this. It's gonna lead into a second one of those scenes already? She's indeed waiting for me when I arrive, doing her best to look cheery despite the fact that she's sitting in a wheelchair. I wave to her and begin stretching. You're early. Emmy frowns and shakes her head. Ridiculous! You're late! Overslept, Hisao? All took it out? Well, at least she seems more like her old self, and as expected, she doesn't seem that shy about mentioning our previous activities. Hey, you're lucky I could show up at all. All that, activity last night, I thought I'd have to sit a nurse afterwards. Jeez. Oh yeah, because they do it off-screen a bit, so God knows. Amy laughs out loud, and her face suddenly becomes concerned. Hey, that's not I mean, you're not... Go on, spit it out. It's just that it would be hard to explain if you had an episode while we were... Oh. Now that she mentions it, it really is a legitimate concern. I certainly hadn't thought of it last night, of course. All the more pressing concerns had been at hand. You know. Well, I don't think anything we do is going to be any more of a strain than these morning runs, and I handle those fine, so... Emmy considers this point. Oh, that face! A devious light appears in her eyes. You see what I mean? This is what I recall. Is like, how out of character it feels. Like, up till now, we just, like, see Emmy just, like, kind of, like, cheery. And then when the relationship gets to this point, it's like, oh, seductive Emmy, mischievous, what the hell's going on here? Say. The light vanishes and Emmy's grins ruefully at me. I can't help but feel vaguely suspicious. I seem to have forgotten a pair of gloves. Oh, Lord. You know, I'm gonna save that for next time. What do you need gloves for? Emmy indicates the chair upon which she is seated. For this, of course. Sure, regular moving around is all well and good without him, but I want to be able to get a good workout. And to get that kind of speed, you gotta have gloves if you don't want blisters. So, what are you whistling out on me then? Do I have to go in alone? Emmy thinks for a minute, or pretends to think. If I remember right, there's a spare pair or two in the track shed. So she does seriously want to do it then. But in her normal school uniform, I'd have expected her to wear her gym outfit for something like this. Wait, what are they doing there? So yeah, this scene is eventually going to escalate into one of those scenes and really kind of shows a bit of a switch in her character. But it only happens during those scenes because she has a surprising kind of differing character. But we'll get to that next time. And by that I mean, that'll be off screen anyway. But like the lead up to it at least would possibly be on screen essentially. But anyway, I'll see you next time, viewers. See you next time.